All right, so I'm now ready to work on the sort of leafy area of the tree. Now, leaves are not just one kind of green. They always have several kinds of green within them. So I'm just going to gather all of my different shades of green to get ready. Now, trees can be done a variety of ways. Depending on what season it is as well, you might have some yellows or some oranges in your trees. I'm going to stick with these greens. I may consider adding some other colors later after I see how this looks. But what I'm going to start with is just a very rough shading for my trees. And this is just my style of shading for trees. I like to go swirling. So we practiced this shading technique when we looked at our pencil shading techniques. So I like to just go in with these sort of swirly little circles. And once I've done that a bit with one of my shades, I'm then just going to go in with one of my next shades and do it again. Now, just like with the tree trunk, it helps if the darkest side of the page or the darker side of the scene is physically darker in color. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of my darker color to that side of the tree. And as I move on to the right side of my tree, which is closest to my vanishing point, that's where you're going to see me adding some of the lighter values, or perhaps even later I might go in with some white, just so that it looks like it's considerably lighter than the rest of my tree because it's getting the most sunshine. Now this tree is cut off. The rest of the tree, of course, is continuing above the page. It's much bigger than where I've drawn it here. So I'm just continuing to go in with all of my different values and continue swirling. This is just, again, one type of tree. There are other ways to do it. You do want to end up with not a perfect circle of your tree, so it's a good idea to sort of roughen up the edges a little bit to make it look like, you know, there's leaves coming out in all sorts of different directions. All right, I'm pretty happy with the different values that I have going on in this tree. I think it makes it look fairly realistic and quite lovely. So now I'm ready to move on to some of the other trees. So I will put this video on time lapse. Feel free to continue watching it, or feel free to get started on some of your own trees.